All right. So, welcome again. Happy Friday. Friday is always a good day here at my place. Hope it is a great place where you are. And I thank you so much again for joining. If you're joining the recording, please feel free to leave some comments or questions for me. Always love to receive them. And today I'm also going to talk a little bit about how it is to step into the nightlife or nightclub event organization and planning. I've been thinking a lot about the term that people use for the type of work that I do. And I would always say, oh, I'm a party promoter. But it's so much more than that because I'm really not a promoter. I'm just not handing out flyers. That's like promoter or just trying to get people into a club. It's way more than that, where you try to create an event, an atmosphere, bring the right people there, and that so the people are happy being there and having a great time. I always remember when I had a party, I could tell if the party was on fire. Was the energy there? And that's always something that I looked for and strived for and worked hard for. A lot of details that goes into that thinking. How do you do that? That is the magic, actually, because it certainly doesn't happen all the time. But I was very fortunate to be able to create that, I would say, almost every time, because I was very fortunate to have the right group there. And that, again, didn't happen by happenstance. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how it is being a party, or I should say nightclub event organizer or planner and executor, because you really are doing all of these things. You are doing anything from coming up with the idea, finding out who you want to do the party with, who you're going to invite, where you're going to have it, how are you going to promote it, what are you going to have for entertainment, what sponsors are you working with, if any, how are you going to reach the right people. All these things comes into play. Is there a rental for the venue? How much does it cost you to print the flyers if you want something physical? What do you want to charge at the entrance? So what kind of crew do you need to have to help you? Security, someone checking the ID, someone's collecting the money, someone making sure everything is going on safely inside the club. You may need to have security guards stationed at certain places. And when we had really big parties, that's what we did. We had sometimes 30, 40, 50 security people for really large events. And of course, that's a big expense, but also you could charge a lot more for these big events. So last time, actually, I don't know if you saw the previous recording, but I talked about the venues and what you can do with those. Now, how do you find the venues? How do you get to know the people that are there? That's some of the things I wanted to talk to you about today. This is kind of a short talk, but I can speak to you from some experience there over the last 22 years, right? Where I was a party organizer in San Francisco. And one of the things that I did when I started out, I didn't even know that I was going to go down this path. I just started organizing events and parties because I really loved it. So what I did was to start looking at other people's doing big parties and parties that I really enjoyed. Of course, I started going to many of these parties, and I was like, this, especially this one guy had a great crowd, lots of energy. He was full of energy, and I could just see the people that he would mingle with and enjoy being around, and all the beautiful girls and the good-looking guys, and everything was just perfect and in great locations usually. And I watched him very carefully. I said, I need to get to know that. That's the kind of guy I need to make friends with. So I had an opportunity because I had a big Scandinavian following, the Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, Finland. That's what I consider Scandinavia, 5 countries. If you look in the lexicon, they say 3, but who cares about the lexicon? So I had a big network into those through the Young Scandinavian Club, for instance, where all the au pairs that would come from other countries would be in that club. Good-looking girls, usually, right? And fun girls. And I had that crowd. So every time there was the 17th of May, which is Norway's Constitution Day, I would gather everyone at a dance club. And I said, so let's see if I can, because this guy actually also had his own restaurant/club. So I said, let's do a party at his place. Let's see if I can get to know him and just to show him the kind of crowd I have, because I knew he was picky about that too, right? So I threw a big 17th of May party there at his club, and he was blown away. He loved the crowd. It was well behaved, well dressed, good looking, all that he was looking for. And but that didn't just happen by itself. So there was other things I did too, because he now is a venue spot for me where I could have other parties too. But me and my girlfriend at the time, we invited him and his wife to our house for a dinner so we could kind of get to know him a little bit better. And then we started developing a much deeper relationship, and both as friends and as business partners. And we ended up doing some of the biggest, most amazing parties in San Francisco. And I got to leverage off of him. So how do you work with these people? How do you get to know them? That's where you got to do some homework, find out who knows them, what do they like, what interests do they have. It's very smart to do these things, because then you know what you can talk about, what they're into and not into. I knew that this guy was also, like me, very much against drugs in his parties. Anytime I saw anything like that, I'm extremely lucky with that, very, very seldom, I would kick him out. And I didn't care if they were my close friends. I said, out. You are not welcome here. You cannot do that at my events, because that's my reputation and all of that. So I found that out about him. So we had that in common. And of course, he loved music and this and that. And one thing led to the other, just not to get deviate too much, but I ended up a big Gypsy Kings concert that you may have heard me talk about too. Or if you haven't seen any of my videos on YouTube, you got to make sure you check them out. I literally had 400 people, 8 buses going to the Gypsy Kings concert, and I did the pre-party at his restaurant, because he had a Spanish restaurant, and we had tapas, and everybody, tapas meaning appetizers, right? The Spanish food and drinks and margaritas and all of that. And he was the expert on all of these things. And so obviously 400 people there at his restaurant first, 8 buses coming, picking us up and taking us to the Gypsy Kings concert. Huge party. And another thing that happened from that, he knew the manager of the Gypsy Kings. Now, the Gypsy Kings, some of you may not know about them, but they were the world's most popular band in the 1980s. So we're going back a few years here, right? A fantastic, beautiful music. Bambole. I'm not going to try to sing for you, but that's the kind of things that happen from going after a venue, learning what it would take to get to know of a venue, and nurturing that relationship. So it's extremely important as you go into this industry to start looking for these venues that have unique features and are fitting in with your crowd, whether it's a rave or a teenage party, or if it's a adult or a certain age group you're going after, or is it a view on the water? That's actually where I saw him do his first party, right on the waterfront in San Francisco. Beautiful building. And all these things I started tapping into, and also was able to leverage off of. So I'm very forever grateful for that. Again, didn't happen by a happenstance. I was very conscious about it. And I was very goal oriented. I said, I'm going to go after that. And I built my own crowd and my own reputation and all of that. And I became a big promoter in San Francisco. And I'd like to say one of the better and most unique promoters, because I didn't just do dance parties. I did many other things, as you will learn about me as you start watching my videos. And if you're doing coaching with me, you also know that. So think about those things and see how you can leverage your own personality, niche that you're going after, and help somebody else to also grow their business. Of course, he made lots of money through me as well. So it was a give and take, very much so. And but I was also very lucky to be in the right place. But again, luck happens to people that keep on and trying and over again and don't give up. So you better be one of those, because there's no such thing as failure when it comes to this for you. And that's not what it was for me either. And of course, you have some down days where you're not hitting the mark, and you got to pick yourself up again and have positive people around you and access to information and maybe a mentor. All these things are very important. Let's see here. What else did I want to talk about? Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm just going to look quickly at my notes here. Another thing we can talk a little bit about here and mention, what are some of the traits and some of the features with you that you ideally should have. We all have our own characters and things that we are good with, and some that we're not so good with. And so, for instance, small talk. Are you able to have a casual conversation about anything if you meet somebody? You can practice that. And that's a very good skill to have, because you want to make sure that you are also comfortable in situations, meeting somebody and sitting down for coffee or a meeting and just shoot the shit, as you call it sometimes, and just kind of be acquainting yourself with each other. You know, also think about stories about yourself, stories about where you've been. People always love hearing stories. So you should think about little things that you can talk about. I remember when here's a story for me and how I started with the Gypsy Kings. I started with one bus, 50 people, and I ended up doing it for 13 years in a row. I remember the first time I was going to do it, I basically asked my friends if what they thought about this idea. If I got like 50 people together on a bus, pre-party first, rent a Mexican bus, have more drinks on the bus over to the Greek theater, and then back again for an after party and food and drinks at the pre-party. They were like, my God, sign me up. And I said, okay, it's $28 each. And that included the food, the drinks, the bus ride. Well, that was actually one of the biggest expenses, the bus, then the tickets into the concert and the bus back again and into the after party. And it was, I think, $2 a person. I didn't do it to make money, but that's how I came up with the idea. So that's an amazing story to tell. So you can just paint a picture. And then, of course, I bought maracas, I bought tambourines, and I had hats for everybody. I had the scarves. I don't think I was sponsored on the first event, but Jose Cuervo, a tequila company, I would call it that, sponsored us. So lots of fun. I mean, people, instead of going to a party and hang out, it became such a different event. People really got to know each other. Relationships were formed. Friends that are back in the 90s, now it's 2025. Back in the 90s, some people met each other and they're still friends. This is now 30 years later. I mean, that's really something that warms my heart. And that's one of the things I strive to do. I had friends of friends, and it grew bigger and bigger. And I was actually telling another person I was interviewing today for a job, and I told her that, I said, I built my crowd out, and I say again, got lucky, but friends of friends, and they had good friends. They had good friends, ending up founders of PayPal, founder of Hotmail, Google top notch, high up in the hierarchy inside Google. They would all come to my parties. They would be on my VIP list, of course. You know, I always took good care of them, as well as my other customers too. But that's the kind of things that happens once you start really paying attention and learning names, knowing who they are, helping them introduce to other people, mingle, and have people around you that are of the same kind. So those are some really good qualities you can have as a nightclub event producer, planner, organizer, a club planner. I wouldn't call it a party promoter. And that's the kind of stuff that I go through in my course. I go deep into some of these things, just like I'm telling here some really key takeaways. So you let me know what other questions you have or things that you worry about, because obviously we can go into talking about negotiations, what kind of contracts do you put in place, how do you, for instance, here's another tip. If you're doing a party at a venue and the age group is 21, so we're legal drinking age in the US, you want to make sure that you have a security guard that doesn't let anyone underage in, because guess what happens? If somebody's caught inside their underage drinking, or even inside, the whole bar, the venue can be shut down. So what I did, I said to the bar owner, to the venue owner, I said, listen, you put your person at the front door together with my security guard. You have your person check the ID and make sure that they're old enough and check that it's a real ID. That way, my problem was not on me anymore. It was on them. And that was a very smart move. And luckily, I didn't have any issues with that, but I also was smart about certain things. And that's, again, thanks to my mentors and people I had around me. So there you go. I hope you learned a few things today. I'm going to be dropping gold nuggets and gold bombs or whatever you want to call it all over the place. I'm here to help you succeed. And let me know how I can help you. That's really one of the key things. So click on the link below, comment, ask any questions, and I'll be answering them personally. And hope to hear from you soon. Okay, see you on the other side, and have a great Friday.